At this point, I've assigned the Genetics Practice Problems Simple worksheet. You'll find them at the back of Chapter 13 in your notes notebook. If for some reason you didn't take your notes notebook home, which hopefully you did, or this whole thing's going to be a little tricky for you, but if you did not take home your notes notebook, you can print these problems from the homework section on PowerSchool, or if you need another copy or whatever. So we're going to start with the Genetics Practice Problems Simple worksheet, which is the first one. I'm just going to do one of a couple of types of problems to kind of make sure that you guys know what's going on. And then we can hop on Zoom if people have extra questions, and I'll do a Q&A session like we're kind of doing our weekly meeting on Zoom anyway. So if you have questions that I don't answer here, just hop on Zoom. I'm going to go over the Oompa Loompa sheet also after I go over and show you a few tricks on the simple worksheet. At the beginning, it should be fairly straightforward. If it's a heterozygous, meaning two different ones, you're going to mark it with HE. Homozygous, you're going to mark it HO. So the first one would be homozygous. The second one would be heterozygous, so on and so forth. You can probably figure that out pretty quickly. I'm going to do the last one about bobtails because it's a little bit backwards, and so I'll answer that question first since I think that's the one people are going to have the most trouble with. So for this one, you're just supposed to tell me what the phenotype is that goes with the genotype. So for the genotype, how does it look? So I'm telling you that bobtails are recessive. So a bobtail is just a short tail or a bobbed tail. And so that is recessive. So we would put a bobtail here. Now then the legitimate question might be, what is the opposite of a bobtail? It's just a long tail. So long tail here, long tail here. All right, you can figure out the other three from what's going on there. In number 3, you're just going to give the phenotypes for the genotypes. I think that's fairly straightforward, so I am going to skip that for right now. All right, number 4 is the first one where you're going to encounter Punnett squares. Now, I taught you guys how to make a 4-box Punnett square in the previous video. You rarely need to do all 4 boxes, so I'm going to use this question to kind of teach you how to quote-unquote cheat. It just really is a way to save some time. So we could do a 4-box Punnett square for this one. So let me show you what that would look like. You want to ask yourself always the question, what can an organism put into its gamete? So it can either put in this one or this one. This one can put in this letter or this letter. Now for this organism, those letters are obviously different. So if we were going to set up a 2-box Punnett or a 4-box Punnett square, let's look at that, how that would look right here. Okay, we have a box here. We're going to do this one first, big R, and then little r, okay? So now we have to go through, we have to fill in each box. This is kind of tedious. I don't know about you, but I'd rather be outside or doing something. So you fill this in, you can see half of these are going to be this genotype and half of them are going to be this genotype. Now, if you're looking at this and kind of evaluating how you could save some time, you can see that both of these are the same. So if a parent only has one thing to donate, you can just shorten your process. I'm going to do that over here. So this guy, he could donate big R, so we have to be careful. But this plant can only donate little r. So we only need 2 boxes to do this one and to show our work. Now, I will require that you guys actually show your work when you're doing these problems on a test. I say that, you're going to be doing your tests online. It's going to be kind of hard to show your work, but you should show your work when you're doing them, just because it'll help you prevent from making mistakes, okay? On your homework, I definitely will require that you show your work to get credit for them. So the percentage of offspring that will be round is the question that we're asking. Now we could look here and we could see, okay, round seeds are dominant to wrinkled seeds. So we look here, anything with the dominant genotype is going to have round seeds. So 50% would be round. Now, just to check that the shorter method actually works, we would want to look here and make sure that we actually have 50%, which we do. So you can use that shorter method. All right, I'm going to do the shorter method for a couple of these other problems just to kind of show you what's going on here. So for this one, we can use a really tiny box. Think about it for a second. This guy can only donate big R. This guy, this one, this plant can only donate little r. So we need exactly one box to show our answer here, because there's only one option. So 100% of our offspring will be round, because 100% of them are going to have at least one dominant allele. All right. Go ahead and do the rest of those problems on the simple worksheet. Like I said, if you run into problems, hop on Zoom when we have our Q&A session, and I'll go over anything that you want me to go over there. After the homework is due, I will also publish a key, but I'm not going to put that key out until after all the problems have been turned in. So please make sure that if you have questions about how to do the problems, that you will get them answered before you have to turn your homework in. It'll give you more time to make sure you're doing it correctly, because what I don't want is you doing the problems incorrectly and then learning something wrong and then having problems. So, Oompa Loompas. Funner? Wow. Whew, that's great, guys. A funner way to do genetics problems. We are going to give you a couple of traits, and then you guys will figure out those problems. I'm going to do the first two, and then I'll let you guys figure out the rest. Going to problem 6, we're going to, so right now you've only been assigned through problem 6. If you try to go on past problem 7, you'll notice that this has a kind of inheritance we haven't talked about yet. So don't do problem 7 until after you've watched my video where I talk about non-Mendelian inheritance. So that's the one after where we talk about Mendelian genetics and monohybrid crosses. I'm going to do a video where I talk about dihybrid crosses and non-Mendelian genetics. So don't go past problems, don't try to do problem 7 until after you've watched that video, or you'll be super confused. All right, so Oompa Loompas have faces, and they can have 2 colors of faces, either blue or orange. And we're going to develop a key to show the genotypes and phenotypes. I tell you here that blue faces are the dominant phenotype. Because B is a good letter, I'm just going to go ahead and use B for blue as our key. And then there are 3 options, right? You can either be homozygous dominant, heterozygous, or homozygous recessive. Homozygous dominant, they are going to be obviously blue-faced. Heterozygous is going to be blue-faced. And recessive, homozygous recessive, is where we're going to see orange faces. So this is going to be your key as you move forward. If we all use the same key, it'll make it easier to kind of go over it. If for some reason you use a different letter, don't panic. It's not a big deal. Number 2. 2 heterozygous Oompas are crossed. This is going to be the last practice problem I'm going to show you for this one. You can probably figure out the rest from here. So 2 heterozygous Oompas are crossed. What proportion of the offspring have orange faces? So I always will write out what my genotypes are for my 2 organisms. So for this one, we have a heterozygous Oompa mating with another heterozygous Oompa. Now, I am going to have to do all 4 boxes here because both parents have 2 individual traits that they could use. All right? So now I want to know what proportion of the offspring have orange faces. So I need to go through and decide which ones are going to look dominant and which ones are going to look recessive. So the dominant is blue, so 3/4 of these guys are going to have blue faces. This one is the only one that's going to have an orange face. So since it asks what proportion, I want to say 1/4 of the offspring will have orange faces. When you do this, make sure you show all your work, but please do me a favor and circle or box your answer so it's easy for me to find. All right. Good luck with those problems. There is a time posted on your class page for a Zoom meeting where I will go over this. If for some reason Zoom isn't working for you guys, I'm hoping that it will, because it's the way I'm going to do the majority of my questions and answers and review sessions. Then let me know and I'll try to figure something else out for you. Good luck, and I will talk to you later.